Tonight, we are here with Jamie Wright for Live from NCCE. We are so excited to have Jamie Wright here. Woo! Jamie Wright is a technology integration coach in Tennessee and has a master's in special ed. And her passion is for equity for all learners. And we are beyond excited that she is here to talk all about accessibility. I am Holly Holland. I will be your moderator today, and we both are a professional learning specialist with NCCE. NCCE is a nonprofit organization that provides educational events and trainings and conversations across the globe. So we have those opportunities face-to-face, virtual, like we're doing. And there's also some self-paced guided things you can do as well. So be sure to check out ncce.org. Now, without further ado, Jamie, how are you doing this evening?
Hi, Holly. I am so excited to be here. As you said, talking about accessibility is just a huge passion of mine, and I'm so pumped to share with everybody tonight and talk about rethinking accessibility with the tools that you're probably already using every day in your classroom. So I'm pumped.
Yes, I'm so excited, and we got to chat over the past week, and I hope everyone's ready. So let's hit it.
All right, let's do it. So first, let me just tell you just a little bit more about me and my background here. So I'm going to get my slide to maneuver for me here. Okay. As Holly said, I am an NCCE professional learning specialist. I'm also a technology integration coach in Clarksville, Montgomery County in Clarksville, Tennessee. Some of you may know us. We are the home to Fort Campbell Army Base. It is one of the largest military installations in the country. So we're super proud of our military here and loving it. So I've been in public education for 20 years. I started out as a social studies teacher in middle school, became an inclusion teacher for high school, and that's where I began pursuing special education and got my master's degree. So again, this is just a huge passion of mine, and it combines two of my favorite things, talking about equity for all kids and technology at the same time. So I'm excited to share some tools with you. So let's dive right in. So we're going to talk about some common accommodations that you see for students on a lot of IEPs, 504 plans, and ELL plans tonight. And I picked out a few that really come up pretty often in the IEPs that I've sat in on and that I talk to teachers about how to do them, okay? And those are minimizing distractions, providing directions in multiple ways, looking at read alouds, translating materials, and also providing an alternate setting for students who need that due to their disability. So tonight we're going to talk about how we can meet all of those needs virtually, which I think is critically important in this year where we're doing so much of our learning online, remotely, and virtually. So we're going to jump in. I will tell you that I'm going to talk about a lot of these tools first for the first 15 or 20 minutes that we're together. And then at the end, I'll give you guys time to ask questions, or Holly and I can go back and we can take a look at any of the tools you might be interested in outside of the presentation. So I'm pumped to share them with you. And this all kind of got started. The website that I'm using as a base for a talking point today got started because two fellow tech integration coaches from my district, Shannon Davenport, who is now the director of professional learning for NCCE, and my good friend Leslie Burdine, they began this website and then asked me to jump in with them and bring my special ed background to the table. We realized that what the big hang up was for a lot of our teachers was they were seeing these accommodations and they had no idea how to do that with technology. They were just thinking about the technology first and not the accommodation first. So what we did is created this website that's organized by accommodation types. So you'll see everything here from separate or alternate location to dyslexia tools, to language barriers, to read alouds. And we organize these tools in that way just to make it easier. And we'd love for you guys to check out that website and use it. It's just a free resource that's out there. I work to keep it updated as much as possible. And if you see something that it needs, there's also a form on the website you can fill out and let us know, hey, did you know about this tool? So we can add it for other teachers too. All right, let's talk about accommodations. That's why we're here. So talking about accessibility. So I want to begin by talking about Microsoft's Immersive Reader. You'll hear me mention this tool a lot because it is a dream of a tool. It's a one-stop shop for a lot of the accommodation types I'm going to talk about tonight. And it functions so well in so many other tools that we use. So a lot of people aren't aware that Immersive Reader is in tools like Nearpod. It's in Flipgrid. So it's in every single Microsoft application. So it's just out there and available so much that you can't, I don't know how you can pass up using it with your kids. So what the Immersive Reader does, let's talk about minimizing distractions first. When a student takes text and clicks on the Immersive Reader, it's going to pull all the distracting material out of the text. It's going to pull the imagery out. It's going to make the text just uniform and seamless, like they were reading a novel. It's going to enlarge the text to make it easier to read. So it just gives them a beautiful, clean view to minimize distractions. Likewise, Microsoft in its applications also uses a check accessibility feature that's under the review tab in most tools. And you can click that accessibility checker and it will make sure that your document is as friendly as possible for people with learning differences. So it's going to make sure that you don't have something that could take away from the overall message of the piece. So that's such a cool feature. Something else that you can do to minimize distractions while students are working, if you're using a Windows PC device, you can screen snap. Now, you can, of course, do this on any other type of device, Chromebooks or Macs, just by simply resizing your screens. But I love the ease of screen snapping on a PC. If I press and hold that Windows key down, and then I choose one of my arrow keys on the right, it's going to snap my work to the side of the screen I've chosen the arrow for. So for right now, if I click the Windows button and hit left, it would snap all of this to the left side of the screen and then give me the opportunity to choose from anything else I had open to put on the right side of the screen. So imagine that for minimizing distractions for a student working who has got to use a piece of text as a reference for a paper he's writing. Now he can have both of those things up side by side and seamlessly use them together with no distractions. There's not that click back and forth. So just some easy tips for minimizing distractions for students. I also wanted to talk about providing directions in multiple ways. I think teachers see this and they're like, but I just said the directions and they're printed on the paper. And I'm like, yeah, and you've now provided it in two ways. You talked about it with a student and you provided it written. But how do you do that when all the work is coming to the students virtually? Well, here I am mentioning my friend Immersive Reader again, because if the students have Immersive Reader and you've got the directions printed, for example, let's say I give them a Flipgrid. They can click that Immersive Reader button and they are hearing the directions with the Immersive Reader. They can watch a video of me reading the directions if I've chosen that as my media in Flipgrid, and they can just read the text of the directions as well. So they're seeing those directions in multiple ways. Another one of my favorites is in tools like in OneNote, for example. OneNote has the ability to record audio clips or to embed video directions right alongside your written directions. So when your students are pulling up their OneNote notebook, they don't have to go anywhere else. They can click and hear you talk about those directions at the same time that they read. And then again, you heard me mention Flipgrid already, so I'm going to hit on it again and just repeat this again for you because Flipgrid is one of my favorite educational tools. You can record video directions for your students as the media example. You can provide type directions, and you can also teach the students how to use the Immersive Reader within Flipgrid. So providing directions in multiple ways is a lot easier than people might think in the virtual environment, because if you're using the correct tools, it's already being done for you. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about read alouds. Read alouds, I think, are the most common need for students in the classroom, the one we see the most often. So again, here's my immersive reader friend again. Teach your students to use that immersive reader. And let me take a second with Immersive Reader to talk about some other impacts it may have. So the Immersive Reader is not just awesome for reading aloud to a student who has a reading deficit. Think about a student with dyslexia, for example. A student with dyslexia who struggles to have those words flipped in the right way. In Immersive Reader, they can change the font to Comic Sans, which is a dyslexic-friendly font. They can change the color of the text, of the background of the text, to a color like yellow, which we know is a dyslexia-friendly color, keeps the words from flipping as much. They can enlarge the text. They can shrink the text down. And that Immersive Reader also meets the needs of every type of read aloud, because students can speed up or slow down the voice or change the voice so that it's best meeting their auditory needs when they're hearing that text read. I also can't move on from read alouds without talking about Chrome extensions. I am a Chrome extension junkie. I admit it. I have a jillion. Two of my very favorite screen recorders are Loom and Screencastify. These tools allow you to just simply record your screen, and be sure to check into these because they do offer educator discounts or educator plans that really make it easy for us to use them as teachers. But I can just record my whole screen like I'm talking to you right now. I can have myself on webcam talking, and I can actually record the read aloud myself. And I want you to just take a second and think about the power of that for students who are learning at home and missing their teachers and missing their friends. To hear your voice delivering their read aloud so that they're getting that sense of connectedness and community with you as well is super powerful. Which is going to lead me right into OneNote, where again, you can record yourself reading a text so the students can hear your voice. So not only, that gives them some options, not only would they have access to the Immersive Reader and OneNote as well, because it's a Microsoft tool, but they could also just click and hear you read to them. So pretty nice. You can also just do live read alouds and I would encourage those of you who are teaching students virtually to do this whenever you can, because again, I know myself as an educator, and I know our kids as students are missing. I teach a second grader, and on the couple occasions that she's had to do a remote day, she missed terribly that connection with her friends and her teacher. So setting up a meeting in Microsoft Teams, in Google Meet, or on Zoom, or other broadcast tools, live sharing tools where you can do live read alouds with your students can be super powerful for them. So those are just some suggestions for read alouds. Let's talk about our English language learners or students who need translated materials. So a couple options that I want to give you guys for translating materials is there's a couple great apps for mobile devices. So if you're an iPad person, iPhone person, there's the Microsoft Translator app and the Google Translator app, and they're both fantastic. I use the Microsoft Translator app a lot, especially. My second grader is actually in a Spanish immersion program. And so I have a reverse problem from a lot of our educators. Rather than having a student who needs material translated, I'm mom who doesn't understand the homework coming home because it's all in Spanish. And both of these apps have features that will allow you to take a picture of text or hover over it with the camera, and it will lay the English on top of the Spanish, or in reverse for students who need translated, lay their language on top of the English. So they see it right there on the paper. And it's just such a cool tool to have at a student's disposal. And so many of our students, especially those in the upper grades, have these devices on them anyway. Why not put them to a powerful use in the classroom when you're able to? So that's one idea. These two tools also allow for voice translation. They also allow for typing. And one of my favorite things about the Microsoft Translator tool that I've used several times with parents is there's actually a tool. It's great, especially if you have an iPad. There's a tool where you can set it up to have a conversation back and forth. So I can speak in English, and it splits the screen in half. So the side facing me, I'm speaking in English, and on the side facing the person I'm having a conversation with, it appears in their language. And then they can speak in their language, and on my side of the screen, it appears in English. So it's just a great way for us to have a conversation. And it even serves like a mobile UN. You can set it up and share with each other using a QR code and just put your headphones in and hear each other talk back and forth like a mobile UN. I think it's the coolest thing ever. Another suggestion for providing translations is using the translator in Immersive Reader. So again, think about how this layers for students who maybe have, who are twice exceptional, who maybe have more than one layer of accommodation needed. Maybe we have an ELL student who also has a reading disability. Now they can put it in Immersive Reader. They can do that size of text, speed of reading. They can adjust the voice. And at the same time, they can translate all of that text into their native language and hear it read that way as well. So they can go back and forth and play it in English and play it in their native language. So that helps them with that learning of their new vernacular. So, okay. The presentation translator in PowerPoint is another one of my favorites. It's a download I use all the time. And PowerPoint also has an amazing captioning feature that I love. So the captioning feature, if I were using it right now, you would see all the words that I'm saying appearing across the bottom of the screen. Now, let me say to take that with a grain of salt. No tool like that, think about your voice to text on your phone, is going to perfectly translate or perfectly caption anything. But y'all, it's real good. It's really good. So it's such an amazing tool. And I've seen it pulled up in meetings with parents where we've made the caption appear in the parent's native language across the bottom. So we can just continue talking and the parents can read that text. It also has a live present mode with captions so that parents can, again, use a device to scan a code and they can see and interact with the presentation in their own language. So just such a powerful tool. So I love all of those for translating materials. Okay, let's talk about alternate settings. So this is one that I think special ed teachers, we know that students sometimes have a need for this. We have students, especially in the behavior realm, that maybe they just need a separate place to learn. Okay, they need to not be in a standard classroom. And when teachers see this accommodation on an IEP, 504 plan, et cetera, I think it can also be the most intimidating because the question is, how on earth am I supposed to pack up my classroom and send it with this kiddo? How on earth am I supposed to have the time to prep materials for this child to function in a different setting? Well, you may already have that set up and going. Think about OneNote, for example. OneNote is an interactive notebook. If you have not checked it out and tried it, I highly encourage you to. It's one of my favorite tools right now because it allows students to work both online and offline in OneNote. So let's say a student takes their OneNote home where they don't have the best internet, and they can do all their work that was already uploaded by their teacher when they had good internet. It syncs while they're at school, and then they come home at night. And whether they have good internet or not, they can work on that. And as soon as they hit good internet again, it syncs. Same thing. I don't know if any of you all have experienced, I know in our district, when we've had 40,000 kids and teachers trying to log on to the internet at one time, we've seen lots of lags. If you have a tool like OneNote, it just keeps humming because when the internet picks back up, it's going to pick back up too. So it's awesome. So OneNote is a great alternate setting, because you've packaged up your classroom and you're sending it with your kids. It's ready to go with travel. Okay, so you can also take that to the next level if you're using Microsoft Teams, because in Teams, the students can have a high level of communication between you and their peers when they have questions. You can do your live meetings inside Teams. And so they've essentially got, and your OneNote syncs right in there. And so they've essentially got their whole classroom wherever they go. I also want to talk about my friend Google Classroom, because y'all, again, you want to talk about something I'm a junkie for. I love a good Google Classroom. And Google Classroom is such another great option for alternate setting. So Google Classroom allows you ease of communication, Google Meet right at your fingertips, the way that you can organize classwork by topics, the way that you can have things show up by scheduling them with the calendar, the Google Calendar that it creates for students to keep them on task. Again, it's such a beautifully packaged classroom that is going with your students wherever you need them to go. So if you're using any of these tools in your classroom, you have an alternate setting ready anytime that student needs it without any extra work on your part. Once they've learned how to use the tool, they can take your classroom wherever they go. And right now, like I said, with virtual setting, that's pretty powerful for our kids. So that covers a lot of the accommodations that I wanted to talk about. And before I ask Holly if there are any questions, I just want to reiterate that I think in the time of virtual learning, it's so critical that we're really thinking about the needs of all of our kids, thinking about accessibility, thinking about equitable access for our students, and thinking about how, I mean, I know teachers are so overstressed and overworked. So I hope that what you heard tonight were some ideas that you're like, oh, wait, I do that. That's an accessibility tool. And I didn't think about it that way. Or, oh, wait, I do that. I could do that. I know I can see that tool and it's something I can definitely manage. So I just hope that you've heard some things that you can take with you and use in your classroom. So we want you guys to make sure you're asking any questions in the chat. And I also am going to flash my Twitter handle up here in a minute because I want to encourage you guys, if you, anytime you have a question about accessibility, please reach out. I'd love to talk to you more about it. And I also want to make sure that you have access to that website, techforalllearners.weebly.com, in case you would like to see, again, those accommodations ordered by type, the way that we've got it in there. So, Holly, did we have any questions?
I'm just doing my "you can do it."
Oh,
like
I love it.
Yep, you can do it.
It's my favorite, and that's what I dressed my daughter up like when she was. That was her second ever Halloween costume, was Rosie the Riveter. I straight up walked around her with a poster that said "You can do it" behind her.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So she's my fave.
Well, we do have a question coming from YouTube, and it's from Jason, and it's just, how would you recommend informing parents how they can help their students remotely with these tools?
Oh, such a great question. I think one of the things you can do as a teacher is build just a quick resource page that you are putting in your OneNote, in your Google Classroom, something you know the students can access, and then include that in your newsletters home to your parents, just to give them some quick how-tos. You heard me mention my friends Loom and Screencastify. I record videos all the time for students, for parents, for teachers that are quick how-tos. Show them how to load a Chrome extension. Show them how to turn it off and on. Walk them through the Immersive Reader one time. If you can create that resource that they can refer back to, I mean, showing them once in person, if you can, is important, but having that resource available someplace handy that they can go back and find it anytime they need it, I think is gold as far as keeping your kids on track with the needs that they have. So I hope that answers that question.
Oh, I think it does. It sure does. And we got a little comment in there saying that you're the best tech coach ever.
Okay, so I might be cheating because that's one of my teachers. I patted the audience a little bit.
Well, Sabrina. Yeah, thank you, Sabrina.
Sabrina.
Now, we do have a little bit extra time, and you mentioned about how you could, demo Immersive Reader. So do you think that you could do a quick little demo for us on Immersive Reader?
I sure can. Let me back out of my presentation here, and I actually have just a little piece of text, if I can get my mouse to play along nicely here with me. It's being ugly for a second. There we go. When the tech coach has technical difficulties, right? Okay, so I just pulled up just a paragraph of text, and it's teeny tiny print. And I know if I were a student with reading disabilities, this would be like, wait, what? It just would look like a big pile of gibberish. So I am just in Microsoft Word Online, and I've gone to View. And under the View tab in Word, you'll see Immersive Reader. Okay. So I'm going to click my friend Immersive Reader, and it may take it a second because of, bandwidth, and we're broadcasting live and all that stuff. But what you're going to see when it loads is you'll see it pop up into the screen where the print is very much larger, spread out. And then up here in the corner, I have some options. And I know it's a little hidden by the NCCE logo, but not enough that we can't look at it. So I want you guys to see, I'm clicking text preferences right now. So this is where I can adjust the size of the text. So if I like it smaller, I can make it smaller or bigger. And I think about the power of a tool like this with a student who desperately needs this accommodation, but doesn't want anyone to know they need this accommodation. Think about them doing this all on their own once they've learned it, because then they're actually going to use what they need. And that makes me so happy. You can increase or decrease the spacing depending on your reading needs. Here's where you can pick that different font. So you heard me say Comic Sans, for example, is a dyslexic friendly font. So I've taught several dyslexic students how to switch to this in Immersive Reader. And you can even change the color if you need it. So if eye strain's a problem for a student, especially at the end of the day, think about all the ways that they can adjust that. It also has grammar options, which I love, especially for littles. I can choose to highlight all the nouns in this text, and it'll turn all the nouns purple. So
perfect. Amazing.
Yeah. So it's helping me learn what all of these things are. This is great for our ELL students too, who are trying desperately to learn English and trying to figure out what these different words are. And sometimes as simple as learning what the person, places, and things are in the text can make it easier to read. Verbs, adjectives, adverbs, the whole 9 yards. You can highlight them all in the text, make it multicolored. You can see they just layer right in there together, and it's so cool. So you can also have it show syllables if you want, break the words apart, which is great for students who are learning to read.
Yes.
And then last but not least, I'm going to go to my reading preferences. So this is another thing I like. This can be handy again for students who struggle with focus. So there is a line reader option, and I can choose to read by 1 line, by 3 lines, or several lines, depending on my need. Okay. I can also activate the picture dictionary. So, which is again great for students who need help with language.
Prove it. Prove it. Show us what it does.
Okay, so I've got my picture dictionary on here. And you notice when I highlight the word baseball that a picture of baseball shows up. I did that just for Holly because she's at the baseball field right now as we speak. So
can you hear it?
If you guys hear the awesome tones of baseball in the background, that's why. That wasn't just a cool sound effect we made happen right there. So translation tool, again, look at all of these languages. It just keeps going.
Amazing.
It makes me so happy. And of course, like I said, in my house, this is my focus because I'm desperately trying to learn a little Spanish so I understand what is going on with my daughter's work. So you can do it by word, which is the way this is right now. So again, if I highlighted a word like I did with baseball, I could see it changed by word. There it is. I can even hear it. So if I were to click the sound, it would say it in Spanish. And I think I have the sound turned on in the video, so hopefully you guys are hearing that. But I can hear it in English and in Spanish. So super cool. And I can even choose to do the whole document. So if I've got a student who's just early on in their learning and they just need a copy of the work in their language, I can switch it right over and then I can switch it right back. So super simple, super user-friendly interface. All I have to do as a student down here is press play. And notice I've got my voice settings down here too. So I can decide, do I want a woman or a man to read to me? And then how fast do I want it to read?
Now, what I love about Immersive Reader is that each student can personalize what they would like. So just, sometimes the misconception is that, oh, the teacher's going to set it up for them. But really, it's each kid. I will tell you, last year in my STEAM resource or in my STEAM class, I had Russian, Portuguese, and I forgot Spanish. So anyway, but all 3 of them were able to maximize, and I showed them how to use Immersive Reader, and they gave hugs to me. They were like, yes. And then, I showed the whole class, and then others used it too. So a kid shouldn't have to ask to be able to use Immersive Reader. They should be able to use it no matter what.
I mean, and it's in so many of the tools we use. We love tools like Flipgrid and Nearpod, and students can they see a little speaker button and they press it and they get this exact immersive reader for all of their directions. It works just the same, has all the same tools and features. So this is literally something they can use every single day, all the time. It's just magic.
Yes, it is. And so are you. You are magical. You have done an amazing job. Thank you so much for joining us tonight live from NCCE. Now, how about, why don't we put up that slide for who's coming next week at the same time?
Yeah. So, because let me see if I can get it to present here for us, if it'll play nice. There we go. And I'm going to pull it up big for you guys. So this is my friend John Pauls. He is so awesome, and you guys are going to love it. So I highly recommend that you tune in. So he's an awesome human to listen to speak anyway, and then to hear him go about tech tools, he knows more than I ever will. So I'm pumped about that one.
Yes, yes. So be sure to join back every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's already dark out here for us, but on the East Coast. But we'll see you guys next Thursday with John Paul, Innovation and Remote Learning with Microsoft 365. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.